Oh my god. Hello. Hello, hello. Hi, hi. Mic check. Mic check. 1 2 1 2. 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 Hi. How are we doing? How are we feeling? Wherever we What's up? So fucking dumb. Anyway. Anyway. What are we doing today? So, as is noted in the title, we are doing poetry. What the heck? Oh my god. Is there this thing that I hate? So what am I doing? I feel like I need to spell it out for people. Oh my god. Ah! My mouse is like dying. I think I need new battery for it. New batteries for it because it's like genuinely like tweaking out right now. So, okay, I have not explained at all what I'm doing right now. So what I am doing is I am interested in writing some poetry with you guys. Because I just wanted to, you know. Oh my god. What is going on? I just want to write more poetry, basically. I think not to be, yeah. Oh boy. Not to be kind of an annoying writer, but I just wanted to write some poetry. Sue me, Game Boys. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. I'm still like not talking right now, which is so on me. I'm just like focusing because I need to copy poetry from one document into the other one, and it's like a whole thing. Elevators. Okay. These are the finished ones. Okay. Okay. Let me grab. I'm like trying to. My God, why do I have a piece of fluff in my? Jesus. Okay. Oh my God. I'm gonna fucking lose my brain cells and everything and just go crazy and then disappear into the woods. I feel like I should have done this before stream. But you're not the boss of me. Okay. You're not the boss of me anyway. So what are we writing? What are we doing? Basically, my whole shtick is that I wanted to write a manuscript for a potential poetry book. Right? 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 Are we here with are we with me? Are we here with me? And I feel like for that I need to like actually write a bunch of shit. Right now I'm just like chilling. It's been 8 minutes and I've done nothing. Guys, I may be a problem. Someone cancel me. Anyway. mm, okay. Okay. Let's start with something a little more simple, and I think because I really want to be able to jump around. I'm like formatting it right now so it becomes easier. Let me actually show you guys my screen because I'm like doing just all kinds of nonsense for no fucking reason. It's been 10 minutes. I still didn't do anything. Oh my god, I'm so annoying. Okay, here. Okay, so I am turning these into. There you go. Turning these into little. And. Okay. Artisan's hands. Like that. Okay. Okay. Here. So here's what I have for this poem so far. Okay. I love seeing artisans' hands. Painters always have inexplicable paint smears. Can't be from the canvas. There are no smudges on the painting. Maybe it's from the palette or a passionate flick of a brush. You know how they move. The control, the motion, the understanding that stroke is like a slash while contorting themselves to get just the right angle of attack. A carpenter's hand is rough. Scars and bumps and gashes from years of oh fuck and bandages. Splinters embedded in their skins, accidents, of course, but the splinters become chips that become scales like armor. I think that needs to be scale like armor, a trauma turned self-defense. Okay. I don't know, makeup artist doesn't feel like it held as much weight. So we have maybe like instead of a carpenter, maybe it just can be a sculptor because carpenter is so like I don't know. I feel like sculptor needs to be more. People who are like fans of like have like a hand fetish are like this is my shit right here. Okay, artisan's hands. I love seeing artisan's hands. Painters always have inexplicable paint smears. Can be from the canvas. There are no smudges on the painting. Maybe it's from the palette or a passionate flick of a brush. You know how they move. The control, the motion, the understanding that a stroke is like a slash while contorting themselves to get just the right angle of attack. To get just the right angle of attack. Building. Okay. Swift. I don't know. Swift. To get just the right angle of attack. Writing is hard. Why am I doing this? Y'all, writing is kind of hard. What the heck? To get just the right angle of attack. Always tend to get while contorting themselves to get just the right angle of attack. Just the right angle of attack. Y'all, writing is hard. I hate it. Just the right angle of attack. Okay. Just a line to attack. Developing arthritis. No. How about we just... The shadow contorting themselves to get just the right angle of attack. I'm thinking of, like, kind of comparing different... Like, I'm thinking of, like, types of fighters, like almost D&D classes kind of things. So you will have, like... So painters would be, like... I'm thinking of, like, swordsmen, like a fighter. So, like, just the right angle of attack. To... and attack. Because if it's, like, about attack, then it becomes, like, to get just the right angle of attack. Break the defense. Be on the offensive of an idea. Offensive of an idea. Be on the offensive of an idea to... Be on the offensive of an idea. Be on the offensive of an idea and break its defenses with each layer of pain. I like that. Break its defenses with each layer of pain. Layer of paint. Break its defenses with each layer of paint. And display its corpse like a trophy. Like a trophy. Display its corpse. Be on the offense to get just the right amount of time. Be on the offensive of an idea. Break its defense with each layer of paint from thin to thick. From thin to thick. Display its corpse. Maybe splay. Display. Its corpse. As a trophy and a proof. Trophy as a trophy and a proof. And a proof. As a display its corpse as a trophy and a proof. Proofy. Display its corpse as a trophy and a proof. A proof of proof. The skill. Trophy. Display its corpse as a trophy and a proof. From thin to thick. I love that, because this doesn't necessarily just apply to a proof. Ship. Sword. Mastership of the sword. Mastership of your... as a proof of your mastership of the sword. Mastership of the sword. Mastership of the sword and your skill. Connection with the brush. The brush. I don't know, sure. A sculptor's hand is rough, scars and bumps and gashes from year of oh fuck and bandages, splinters embedded into their skin. Accidents, of course, but the splinters becomes chips that become scale like armor. A trauma turns self-defense. So I'm thinking like a heavy. Well, a dancer. Like a painter is more like a light-handed. A painter is more like a light-handed, like moving kind of creature. A sculptor is gonna be like a heavy. I'm thinking. I don't know if paladin's the right word, but like a heavy attacker, maybe like a berserk type, like a heavy attacker. Well, if it's defense, then it's like someone with a shield. I'm thinking the paladins are like with the shield, but like heavy attacks, heavy like movement, heavy like there's a weight to the way that they do things, and I think it kind of like really depicts mm, I feel like the two artists are too. Sculptor's head is rough, scars and bumps and gashes from years of oh fuck and bandages. Splinters embedded in their skins, accidents of course, but the splinters become chips that become scale like armor. A trauma turned self-defense. Trauma turned self-defense. Heavy. Turned self-defense. Weight of. Weight of numerous materials. Numerous mediums. From clay to left mutual. From clay to wood to metal. From clay to wood to metal. Left mutual. From clay to wood to metal. Left mutual carve. Mutual. Weight from numerous mediums from clay to wood to metal made new. Not creative, from clay to wood to metal. Carved their body in solidarity. Okay. Carved their body in solidarity. Solidarity. Carve their body in solidarity. Carve their body in solidarity or revenge. Solidarity or revenge. To take this back. This. To. Your mastership of the sword and your connection with the brush. Maybe not mastership, maybe sharpness, because I'm thinking like the sword could be like intellect that applies to creativity. So mastership of your sword could be like sharpness of your sword. Maybe sharpness of the sword of your sharpness of the sword. Maybe of the sharpness of your sword. Sharpness of your sword. To get the right angle and the control of the motion. Displays a trophy as the sharpness of your sword and your connection with the brush. Because sharpness of your sword, because I'm thinking sharpness, you know how when you call someone intelligent, you call them sharp? This person is sharp. They pick up on things. So, like, I'm thinking of making that a nod to the intellectual labor of painting, of all art, generally speaking. But you know what I mean? Painting. Revenge. Strike back. To strike back with force. And the sculptor's hand is rough, scars and bumps and gashes from years of fights and bandages, splinters embedded in their skin, accidents of course, but the splinters become chips, become skin. The sharpness of their sword. Because I use, like, their connection with the brush. Maybe they, because I use their connection with the brush. You know how they move? Yeah, they makes more sense here. Yeah. Trauma, self-defense, weight of numerous mediums from clay to wood to metal carve their body in solidarity or revenge to strike back with force. Or revenge for striking it. For choosing, I don't know, what would be, like, what is a good? Carve their body in solidarity or revenge for striking. Maybe not striking. I don't know if striking is the right word. It all depends on which one. For bending clay to wood to metal to glass. For bending the elements to their will. Ooh, I like that. I like that. For bending the elements to their will. Carve their body in solidarity or revenge for bending the elements of their will. To their will. To their will. Give form to. Give form with heavy hand. With heavy hand. Give form with heavy hand. Weapon of choice. And weapon of give form with heavy hand and weapon of choice. Never relenting. Never relenting to. Never relenting to capricious nature. The medium. Capricious nature, never relenting to the capricious nature of the medium. Capricious nature of the medium. What is the? Am I using the word capricious correctly? Because I don't want to sound like an idiot. So we're gonna say capricious. Capricious. No, shut up, Google AI. No one's talking to you. Adjective capricious, impulsive, unpredictable, determined by chance, impulse, or whim. Okay. Well, okay. So, like, yeah, capricious. Good. Because I want to make sure that I never lent to the capricious nature of the mediums. Maybe it should be the capricious nature because of medium. Never lent to the capricious nature of medium. Sculpture hands rough, scars and bumps and gashes from years of oh fuck and bandages, splinters embedded in their skins, accidents of course, but the splinters become chips that become scale-like armor, a trauma turned self-defense. Weight of numerous mediums from clay to wood to metal to glass, carve their body in solidarity or revenge, for bending the elements to their will, give form with heavy hand and weapon of choice, never relenting to the capricious nature of medium. Never relenting to the capricious nature of medium, yet letting it. Capricious nature of medium, yet relenting. Yeah, yet. Never relenting to the capricious nature of medium, yet moving. Yet. Never relenting to the capricious nature of medium, yet. And. Never relenting to the capricious nature of medium, and only using its whims. Yeah. And only using up whims. Of medium and only using its whims to further dominate. Using its whims to further dominate. Oh my god. Dominate the roughness. Only using its whims to further dominate. Further dominate. Enforcing. Further dominate the. Only using its whims to further dominate. Never relenting to the capricious nature of medium and only using its whims to further dominate. And spirit must be unbrought. Further dominate one spirit. pretty spirit. I don't know if I like the word spirit. One's. I think spirit. Ones. Only using its whims to further dominate. Dominate. To guide and control. Further dominate. Use whims to further dominate. Feels like there needs to be some form of again, this is why I'm not sure, like, this break its defensive position from thin to thick. What we're gonna do, we're gonna, like, put it in, I'm gonna give it a little bit of a highlight. Corpse is a trophy and a proof. The connection with the brush to thick. Connection with the brush. Proof of the sharpness of the sword and the connection to the brush. Because I feel like this could be like a cool, like, finishing paragraph to kind of like, well, not paragraph, stanza. To like kind of round up the idea of like right. Oh, actually, let's put it right here. Writers. A writer's hand is nimble. Hand is nimble. Is nimble. Is nimble. Years of keyboard mashing. Years of keyboard mashing. Years of keyboard mashing and maybe not nimble, maybe like maybe stiff. I don't think it's actually written hand is stiff. Because I think a writer has like a lot of tension in the wrists. I'm thinking like a wizard. You're a wizard, Harry. A writer's hand is stiff. Years of keyboard mashing and keyboard mashing and handwriting. Mashing and handwriting. Writer's hand is stiff. Writer's hand is stiff. Okay. Maybe not from, because I feel like we use that. Well, I use that already, so I don't like that. A writer's hand is stiff. An arthritis. An arthritis lives in there. There, like an old friend. Old, maybe old curse. Yeah, like an old curse. An arthritis, like an arthritis lives in there, like an old curse. Flirt. Up during keyboard mashing session. Mashing sessions. Sessions. Or handwriting of the spell. Verse. Or handwriting of the verse. It flares up during keyboard mashing sessions or handwriting of the verse. So yeah, I'm thinking of like writers to be like wizards and like a magician of sorts, because a lot of it is like it's like fiction turned kind of real, if that makes sense. It's like fiction that turned into like reality. And I don't know, because I'm thinking of like when you read something and somebody feels an emotion about it, is very like, oh, this is like there, that's like a like that's like magic to me, right? Because you just you know what I mean? That's like magic to me, because it's like it's thought that that's not it's like a concept that you as an individual absorb, and that makes you feel a thing, and that's kind of crazy. um so I'm thinking of like writers to be wizards or handwriting of the verse. I reverse stringing together words and letters, stringing together words into sentences, into paragraphs, into novels. Words and into to paragraphs, into novels. Words into sentences, into paragraphs, into novels. Words into sentences, into paragraphs, into novels. Arthritis has stiff, and arthritis lives in there. Like an old curse, it flares up during keyboard mashing sessions or handwriting of the verse. Stringing together words into sentences, into paragraphs, into novels. Manifesting. Manifesting. Summoning a feeling, summoning an emotion from the abyss. An emotion from the abyss of concept. Ooh. From the abyss of concept. I like that. From the abyss of concept. Summoning an emotion from the abyss of concept. Stuck. Okay, or handwriting of the verse, stringing together words into sentences, into paragraphs, into novels, summoning an emotion from the abyss of concept. Ew. From the abyss of concept. Maybe like a warlock too. That's pretty cool. Paragraphs into not. Sorry, I just did some formatting. Just that's why I skipped around a little bit. For a second. Summoning an emotion from the abyss of concept. Akin to projecting a thought. Projecting a thought into one's head via an incantation. To one's head via an incantation. Via an incantation. One's head via an incantation. To one's head via an incantation. One's head via an incantation. Ours hand is stiff. An old curse. I don't know if that's like. Ay. Projecting a thought into one's head via an incantation. Okay. Projecting a thought into one's head via an incantation. An illusion. Illusion powerful enough to. To move the sword. To move the sword. To not only move the sword. Not only move the sword, but unite. An illusion powerful enough to not only move the sword, but unite. Move the sword, but unite. Even the writer themselves. But unite under thematic. People. Unite folk under thematic. But unite folk under. Thematic what? I'm thinking of like. expression. Thematic expression fucking means nothing. Under thematic. An illusion powerful enough to not only move the sword, but unite folk under thematic relevance. What is like thematic plot points? I don't like the way that sounds corny. Thematic plot point, huh? Thematic cues. Visual. Well, the writer's hand. What is it? Evoke under thematic use of visual. And that's how we make it into metafiction. We have officially, congratulations, folks. We have officially crossed into the territory of metafiction. I would like to congratulate all my fellow everybody who's sitting here. An illusion powerful enough not only to move the sword, but unite folk under thematic use of visual. The idea, thematic use of visual, I use the visual cue of the hand. And a stamp with a bump on the middle finger. With a dense bump on the middle finger. Yeah. Middle finger. A writer's hand is stiff with a dense bump on the middle finger, and arthritis lives in the wrist. And arthritis lives in the wrist like an old curse. It flares up during keyboard mashing sessions or handwriting of the verse, stringing together words into sentences, into paragraphs, into novels, summoning an emotion from the abyss of concept, projecting a thought into one's head via an incantation, an illusion powerful enough to not only move the sword, but unite folk under a thematic use of visual. But unite folk under thematic use of visual. Yeah. Actors. I'm thinking actors are like rogues. Because they steal personality from, like, part of acting is like lying and being kind of like stealing a personality and like being a chameleon of sorts, right? An actress, right? Because the hand holds no personality. An actor's hand holds no personality. An actor's hand holds no personality. For its job, it must always remain in hiding. Must always remain in hiding, be a shapeshifter of sorts. To jump from universe to universe. universe to universe. Verse without living a universe. Be a shapeshifter from universe to universe without nobody noting. Buddy noting. To jump from universe to universe without anybody noting your noting your otherness. Their otherness. Right? An actor's hand holds no personality, right? An actor's hand holds no personality. It must always remain in hiding, be a shapeshifter of sorts. A shapeshifter of sorts to jump from universe to universe without anybody noting their otherness. A great liar and a manipulator. Great liar and a manipulating. A great liar donning the robes. A great liar donning the robes of anybody. Donning the robes of anybody. Breaking their jaw. Breaking their jaw and jaw. While morphing. Being both fat, skinny, being both fat, skinny, and covered in muscle. Skinny, covered in muscle. A clever cat. A Schrodinger's cat. A shiesty cat. I like the word shiesty. Being both. Being a brave dog and a shiesty cat. Shiesty cat. Being a brave dog and a shiesty cat. A Schrodinger's paradigm. Paradigm. A Schrodinger's conundrum. Schrodinger's conundrum. Schrodinger's conundrum. Schrodinger's conundrum. Yeah. Being a brave dog and a shiesty cat. A Schrodinger's conundrum. Because it's a Schrodinger's cat. Well, is the cat dead or alive? That's the whole point, right? Schrodinger's conundrum. Schrodinger's conundrum. An actor's hands hold no personality, must always remain in hiding, be a shapeshifter of sorts, to jump from universe to universe without anybody noting their otherness, a great liar, donning the robes of anybody, breaking their jaw while morphing, being both fat, skinny, and covered in muscle, being a brave dog and a shiesty cat, a Schrodinger's conundrum. Not a person. An ever-changing entity. An ever-changing, I do not know how to spell the word ever. Ever-changing entity. Not for donning masks. Well, donning masks to an ever-changing entity. Donning masks. A changing entity. Just hands holds no personality, must always remain in hiding. Okay, let me see how this flows. Artisan's hands. I love seeing artisans' hands. Painters always have inexplicable paint smears. Can be from the canvas, there are no smudges on the painting. Maybe it's from the palette or a passionate flick of a brush. You know how they move, the control, the motion, the understanding of that a stroke is like a slash while contorting themselves to get just the right angle of attack. Be on the offensive of an idea, break its defenses with each layer of paint, from thin to thick. A sculptor's hand is rough, scars and bumps and gashes from years of oh fuck and bandages. Splinters embedded in their skin, accidents of course, but the splinters become chips that become scale-like armor, a trauma turned self-defense. Weight of numerous mediums, from clay to wood to metal to glass, carve their body in solidarity or revenge for bending the elements to their will. Give form with Alright. Weight of numerous mediums, from clay to wood to metal to glass, carve their body in solidarity or revenge. For bending the elements to their will, give form with heavy hand and a weapon of choice, never relenting to the capricious nature of medium, and only using its whims to further dominate. A writer's hand is stiff, with a dense bump on the middle finger, and arthritis lives in the wrist, like an old curse. It flares up during keyboard mashing session or handwriting of the verse, stringing together words into sentences, into paragraphs, into novels, summoning an emotion from the abyss of concept, projecting a thought into one's head via an incantation. An illusion powerful enough to not only move the sword, but unite folk under a thematic use of visual. An actor's hand holds no personality. It must always remain in hiding. Be a shapeshifter of sorts, to jump from universe to universe without anybody noting their otherness. A great liar, donning the robes of anybody, breaking jaw while morphing, being both fat, skinny, and covered in muscle, being a brave dog and a shiesty cat, a Schrodinger's conundrum, an ever-changing entity. Ever-changing entity. A mask turned to a talent. A mask turned into a talent. A mask. Something. A mask. What do you about masks? I want this to almost like read as like a fable. Tattoo artist, I don't know. Tattoo artist feels like it fall under musicians are like would be like bards. Artisans and musician is like a bard, right? Or at least the way that I think about them. And ever-changing entities. Maybe I don't need this. Okay, musicians. There's so many different types of musicians. This is the thing. What do they all have in common? What would we do? Musicians like. I feel like obviously a bard, right? And it's all about entertainment. A life lives in a musician's hand. A life lives. Yeah, maybe not life. What lives? There's something that lives in their hand. Maybe a soul lives. In a musician's hand. Hand. There you go. A soul lives in a musician's hand. That gives it gives it a mind of its own. Yeah. Mind. It gives it a mind of its own. A soul lives in a musician's hand, gives it a mind of its own. Mind of its own. Dancing on the buttons and keys and strings. On the buttons and the keys, strings, and keys and strings. Dancing on the buttons and keys and strings. Dancing on the buttons and keys and strings. Maybe like a maybe instead of like a bard, like a musician is more like a necromancer, right? Because they like could their skill at like magic can rise a dead like their skill, their like magic skill, which is music, can rise the dead to just do a little shimmy. Dancing in the buttons and keys and strings, rising. Rising light. Turning empty husks. Turning empty husks. Husks into vessels. Vessels. Yes. Into vessels of laughter. Laughter is a little corny boots. Turning empty husks into vessels. Into vital vessels. Vital. The word vital. Relating is, yeah, like vital vessels. Yeah, lively. Vital vessels. I just like alliteration. Sue me. Vital vessels. Turning empty husks into vital vessels. Into vital vessels. Filling an empty room with invisible matter. Empty room. Filling an empty room with a matter. A matter one cannot perceive it, but perceive it. One cannot perceive it, but by God you feel it. But by God you feel it. The soul lives in a musician's hand. It gives it a mind of its own. Dancing on the buttons and the keys and strings, turning empty husks into vital vessels, filling an empty room with a matter. With a matter one cannot perceive it, but by God you feel it. God, you feel it. My God, you feel it. It's the ghosts. The ones that rise. To move and live. To move and live. Covered in sweat and the ones that rise are forced to move and live covered in sweat and spit. Sweat and spin. Covered in fluid, sweat and sweat and spit. Spit. Reverted into holistic ecstasy. Is that too much? I feel like that's too much. Reverted into animalistic ecstasy. Mm, mm. Hmm. Okay. Animalistic. I don't know if animalistic ecstasy makes sense. Hmm. 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 I don't like animalistic ecstasy. I think it sounds stupid. Okay. Reverted into. More. Reverted. Into basic. Well, not even basic. Reverted into. Primal? I don't like the word primal either. Cavern Swin Spade returned. Reverted into basic. A body. Moving haphazardly. Moving haphazardly. Haphazardly and rhythmically. In rhythm. Moving haphazardly. In rhythm. Moving. Reverting to nothing but a body moving haphazardly in rhythm. Swing spit. Soul lives in a musician's head. It gives hand. Jesus Christ. A soul lives in a musician's hand. It gives it a mind of its own, dancing on the buttons and keys and strings, turning empty husks into vital vessels, filling an empty room with a matter one cannot perceive it, but by God you feel it. The one that rise are forced to move and live, covered in sweat and spit, reverted into nothing but a body, moving haphazardly in rhythm. A musician. Puppeteered by the beat. Puppeteered by the beat and forced. Puppeteered by the beat. Puppeteered by the beat. Enforced by. Puppeteered by the beat. By the soul. By the soul. Living in the musician's hand. The beat enforced by the soul, living in the musician's hand. Positions hand. Sure. Force. Forward by the solo. Force by musician's hand. Dancer. What about dancer's hands? There's dancer. Dancer's hand is nimble. I don't know. There's dancer's hand is nimble. Is nimble, sharp. Is nimble, sharp. Sharp. Nimble, precise. Nimble and precise. A dancer's hand is nimble and precise and knows. Nimble and precise. It knows movement like nothing else. A domesticated movement. Ooh, I like that. Domesticated movement. A domesticated movement. Domesticated movement. Domesticated movement. Put a leash on a collar. Put a leash on a collar. Dancer's hand is nimble and precise. A domesticated movement. Put a leash on a collar on. Put a leash on a collar. Collar on it. Put a leash and a collar on it. Strung it up to make. Put a leash and a collar on it. Strung it up. Is nimble and precise and domesticated movement. Put a leash and a collar on it. Strung it up. Strung it up so stiff, so stiffly. Up so. Has nimble and precise. Put a leash and a collar on it. Put a leash. Domesticated movement, put a leash and a collar on it. Strung it up. Domesticated movement, put a leash and a collar on it. So vigorously. Train it so vigorously. Second nature. Train it vigorously. So vigorously that it became second nature. There you go. It's restriction. Its restriction became second nature. Always acutely aware. Restriction became second nature. Yes. So the audience doesn't. Is that its discretion became second nature. The audience, so much so that the audience believes. So much so that the audience believes the movement. The movement is natural, spontaneous. Movement is normal. Natural, spontaneous. Natural, spontaneous. Natural, spontaneous. Spontaneous even. Believes in the movement. Believes. So that the audience believe the movement. Movement is natural. A dancer's hand is nimble and precise. A domesticated movement. Put a leash on a collar on it. Trained it so vigorously that it became second nature. So much so that the audience believes that the movement is natural, spontaneous. Even the performance is spontaneous. Even a performance that doesn't feel okay. A performance that doesn't feel. The movement is natural, spontaneous. Even a performance that doesn't feel. Performance that makes you give up your goal. When you record, of course. You to give up your goal. Give gold by your own volition. Of course, a mucker. Volition, of course. Mocking your own fear of movement by your own volition, of course. They mock your fear of movement. Of movement and movement. They mock your fear of movement. They mock fear of. I like your mock fear of movement and entice. ties through it. Further is to give up your goal by your own volition, of course. They mock your fear of movement and entice through it. Girl, what are we doing here? Entice through it. Entice through it. Wonder, urges audience. Urges people to give up their money. To give up. The gold by your own volition, of course. Their own volition. By their own volition, of course. Performance that urges people to give up their gold, that by their own volition, of course, they mock fear of movements and entice through it. Entice through it. Entice through it. Deeply charismatic. Entice through it with their deeply charismatic bodies. Deeply charismatic bodies. Okay. Let's draw a little sum up. Painter's hands always have inexplicable paint smears. Can't be from the canvas. There are no smudges on the painting. Maybe it's from the palette or a passionate flick of a brush. You know how they move. Either control the motion, the understanding that a stroke is like a slash, or contorting themselves to get just the right angle of attack. Be on the offensive an idea, break its defenses with each layer of paint, from thin to thick. A sculptor's hand is rough, scars and bumps and gashes from years of oh fuck and bandages. Splinters embedded in their skins, accidents of course, but the splinters become chips, then become scale-like armor, a trauma-turned self-defense. Weight of numerous mediums. What weight of numerous mediums, from clay to wood to metal to glass, carve their bodies in solidarity or revenge. For bending the elements to their will, give form with heavy hand and weapon of choice, never relenting to the capricious nature of medium, and only using its whims to further dominate. A writer's hand is stiff, with a dense bump on the middle finger, and arthritis lives in a wrist. Maybe it should be living. An arthritis living. An arthritis living in a wrist, like an old curse. It flares up during keyboard mashing sessions or handwriting of verse, stringing together words into sentences, into paragraphs, into novels, summoning an emotion from the abyss of concept, projecting a thought into one's hand via an incantation. An illusion powerful enough to not only move the sword, but unite folk under thematic use of a visual. Maybe not of a visual. An actor's hand holds no personality. It must always remain in hiding. Be a shapeshifter of sorts, to jump from universe to universe without anybody noting their otherness. A great liar drawing the robes of anybody. donning the robes of anybody, breaking their jaws while morphing, being both fat, skinny, and covered in muscle, being a brave dog and shisty cat, a Schrodinger's conundrum, an ever-changing entity. A soul lives in a musician's hand. It gives it a mind of its own, dancing on the buttons and keys and strings, turning empty husks into vital vessels, filling an empty room with a matter one cannot perceive it, but by God you feel it. The ones that rise are forced to move and live, covered in sweat and spit, covered into nothing but a body, moving haphazardly in rhythm, puppeted by the beat, enforced by the soul, living in musician's hand. A dancer's hand is nimble and precise. A domesticated movement put a leash and a collar on it, trained it so vigorously that its restrictions became second nature, so much so that the audience believe the movement is natural, spontaneous even. A performance that urges people to give up their gold by their own volition, of course. They mock fear of movement and entice through it with their deeply charismatic bodies. I, with their deeply charismatic bodies. The artisan's hands. The artisan's hands treat ideas. Ideas as a battle. As a battle. Treat ideas as a battle. The artisan's hands treat ideas as a battle. It's a battle. For if you hold no mastery. For if you hold no mastery. For if you hold no mastery. No mastery or idiosyncratic scars. Idiosyncratic scars. For they hold no mastery. For if they hold no mastery or idiosyncratic scars. The idea will devour. Devour. The idea will devour. So they must defeat it. They must take skill to defeat it. Why is it? Defeat. It takes skill to realize its defeat. say the word create. To create. Its defeat. Display its course and display its corpse as a trophy and a proof of sharpness of their sword and their connection with the brush. We have artisans, sculptors. And the sword and the connection with the breast. The sharpness of the sword and their connection with the brush. The unbendable their unbendable spirit. Maybe stubborn disposition. The stubborn disposition. Disposition willing to take scars. To take on damage. Incantation. And a proof of the sharpness of their swords and their connection with the brush. Their stubborn disposition willing to take on damage. Take on damage. Stubborn disposition willing to take on damage. Together with projection. Weaving illusion. Through words. Illusion through words and weaving illusion through words and intellectual play. Words and intellectual play. Illusion through words and intellectual play. Their stubborn disposition willing to take on damage with illusion through words and intellectual play. Retaining malleability. Retaining ability retaining malleability while putting on masks. Why does it smell like weed in here? Malleability. Retaining malleability while putting on masks of many. So one must respect an artificial hand. While putting on masks of many. The sharpness of his or their connection to the brush, their stubborn disposition willing to take on damage. Stubborn disposition willing to take on damage, moving illusions through words and intellectual play, retaining malleability while putting on masks of many. To revive the souls. To revive the souls of that forgot to move. Forgot how to move. To revive the souls of husks. The husks. Forgot. Performance that uses people to go with their goal, but their own volition, of course. They mock the fear of movement and entice through it. They're deeply charismatic. True, I have the souls of the husk that forgot how to move. Of the husk that forget how to move. To revive the souls of the husk that forget how to move. Move with charisma. With charisma and levity. With charisma and levity. Charisma and levity. With charisma and levity. With charisma and levity, like charisma and levity. Charisma. Husky forgot how to move with charisma. With charisma and levity. Charisma and levity. An enforcement of spontaneity. How to move with charisma and levity. To revive the souls of the husk that forgot how to move with charisma and levity. Stubborn disposition willing to take on damage, weaving illusions through ward and weaving illusions through words and intellectual play, retaining malleability while painting on masks, putting on masks of many to revive the souls of the husks that forgot how to move with charisma and levity. With charisma and levity. in charisma and levity, and curated spontaneity. And curated spontaneity. Spontaneity. Charisma and levity and curated spontaneity. An artisan's hand. And curated spontaneity. With charisma and levity and curated spontaneity. An artisan's hand. And curated spontaneity. I don't think this needs like an artisan's hand, like repeating. I don't think that needs that because we already have like this. And a proof of the sharpness of their sword and their connection to the brush, their stubborn disposition, willing to take on damage-moving illusion through words and intellectual play, retaining malleability while putting on masks of many, to revive the souls of the husks that forgot how to move with charisma and levity and curated spontaneity. Proof. Yeah, and curated spontaneity, comma. Yeah, I mean, period. I think so. Okay, let's just read through it one more time. Okay, artisan's hands. Painter's hands always have inexplicable paint smears. Can't be from the canvas. There are no smudges on the painting. Maybe it's from the palette or a passionate flick of a brush. You know how they move, the control, the motion, the understanding that a stroke is like a slash. That a stroke is like so like slash of a sword. That's rotating. Okay. A painter's hand always have inexplicable paint smears. Can be from the canvas. There are no smudges on the painting. Maybe it's from the palette or a passionate flick of a brush. You know how they move, the control, the motion, the understanding that a stroke is a slash of a sword, while contorting themselves to get just the right angle of attack, be on the offensive of an idea, break its defenses with each layer of paint from thin to thick. A sculptor Excuse me. A sculptor's hand is rough, scars and bumps and gashes from years of fucking bandages, splinters embedded in their skin, accidents, of course, but the splinters become chips that become scale-like armor, a trauma turned self-defense, weight of numerous mediums from clay to wood to metal to glass carve their body in solidarity or revenge. For bending the elements to their will, give form with heavy hand and weapon of choice, never relenting to the capricious nature of medium, and only using its whims to further dominate. A writer's hand is stiff, with a dense bump in the middle finger and arthritis living in the wrist like an old curse. It flares up during keyboard mashing sessions. Maybe it's a pointer finger. I need to remember, how do I hold? Yeah, no, it's the middle finger. You get a writer's bump. Alright, on the middle finger, an arthritis living in the wrist, like an old curse. It flares up during keyboard mashing sessions or handwriting of the verse, stringing together words into sentences, into paragraphs, into novels, summoning an emotion from the abyss of concept, projecting a thought into one's head via an incantation, an illusion powerful enough to not only move the sword, but unite folk under thematic use of visual. An actor's hand holds no personality. It must always remain in hiding, be a shapeshifter of sorts, to jump from universe to universe without anybody noting their otherness. A great liar donning the robes of anybody, breaking their jaw while morphing, being born both fat and skinny and covered in muscle. Fat and skinny and covered in muscle, being a brave dog and a shiesty cat, a Schrodinger's conundrum, and an ever-changing entity. A soul lives in a musician's hand. It gives it a mind. It gives it a mind of its own, dancing on the buttons and keys and string, turning empty husks into vital vessels, filling an empty room with a matter. One cannot perceive it, but by God you feel it. The ones that rise are forced to move and live covered in sweat and spit, reverted into nothing but a body moving haphazardly in rhythm. In rhythm or to rhythm? Moving haphazardly to rhythm, puppeteered by the beat, enforced by the soul, living in a musician's hand. A dancer's hand is nimble and precise. It domesticated movement, put a leash and a collar on it, trained it so vigorously that its restriction became second nature, so much so that the audience believes the movement is natural, spontaneous even. A performance that urges people to give their gold by their own volition, of course. They mock fear of movement and entice through it with their deeply charismatic bodies. The artisan's hands treat idea as battle, for they hold no. Okay, wait. The artisan's hand. I cannot. I'm like woozy. Okay, let's start again. The artisan's hands treat ideas as battle, for if they hold no mastery or idiosyncratic scars, the idea will devour. It takes skills to create its defeat, displayed its corpse as a trophy. It takes skill to create its defeat, display its corpse as a trophy, display its corpse as a trophy and a proof of the I'm telling you, man, I'm like woozy now. The sharpness of their mind, the sharpness of their sword, and their connection with the brush, their stubborn disposition willing to take on damage, weaving illusion through words and intellectual play, retaining malleability while putting on masks of many to revive the souls of the husks that forgot how to move, with charisma and levity and spontaneity. Its corpse is a trophy and a proof of the shirt. Indeed. Beware. Embrace the skill of the art, for it is the future. Indeed. I don't know. Sure. I don't know. I feel like that's good enough. Okay. Oh god. Guys. I'm so tired. My brain is like non-functional. You write a poem and you're like, oh my god. Anyway, I'm gonna leave this here. I'm so tired. I'm gonna relax. I'm gonna probably do some workout or whatever. Drink some water, chill out. You know how it goes. I will see you guys soon. enough again, hopefully. I don't know if I'll see you next week, but we'll see. Um, so yeah,